Namaste and welcome to this very, very special and exciting moment in Nepal's media history. I'm Shivanee Thapa Basnyat with you, and today we are not just bringing you a mere conversation, but we're taking the very, very first steps into the new era of Nepal's broadcasting. A new era that promises to redefine how we connect, how we inform, and we inspire as a nation. Now, we're marking a new milestone in Nepal's broadcasting history with the pre-launch of Public Service Broadcasting Nepal, PSB, and that's what we're going to call henceforth. It's not just a technical or an organizational milestone, but it is a statement of intent from our side. It's about unifying two huge legacies, that of Radio Nepal and Nepal Television, into a unified public service broadcaster here in Nepal that reflects the aspirations, the diversity and dynamism of Nepal. Over the next 3 days, dear audience, we will be engaging here at PSBN Nepal in marathon panels that delves into various spheres and dimensions that are so fundamental for creating an exemplary model of PSBN. And this is not just for media practitioners or professionals, but this ranges from policy leaders to the local community and the members in the audience that we serve. This particular panel today that I have the privilege to host is going to delve into international best practices in PSBN, and we'll be deliberating with these stalwarts in the region who have compassed a journey and bring forth to us a plethora of experience, expertise, knowledge, and more than that, eagerness to support Nepal's endeavor and venture. We are privileged to be joined in by two regional stalwarts. First and foremost, Mr. Ahmed Nadeem, the Secretary General of Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, ABU, who's a visionary expert in PSB and in regional collaboration. Joined in by Ms. Claire M. Gorman, Head of International Services at the ABC Australia, representing one of the world's leading public broadcasters, known for its innovation and audience-focused approach. Let's dive into their insights on how Nepal can lay some strong foundations for PSB and harness global practices to serve its people. Mr. Nadeem and Ms. Claire, it's an absolute privilege to have you with us today. Welcome to the show. Let me begin straight away with Mr. Ahmed Nadeem. The merger of Radio Nepal and Nepal Television into a PSB, Mr. Nadeem, is a historic move, you know that, bringing together decades of legacy, that of Radio Nepal and Nepal Television, into a single unified public service broadcaster. Now, with your technical expertise and long-standing association with both the entities here in Nepal, how do you perceive this merger in terms of its potential to redefine Nepal's media landscape?
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity. It's wonderful to join this discussion. Once again, congratulations to Nepal for this initiative. It shows a significant improvement and enhancement and approach to reinvigorate the public service media environment within Nepal. My word, just note the differences here. What I mentioned is media rather than broadcasting. I think this is a technicality that we will come through the discussion. But I think, as you mentioned, both Radio Nepal and Nepal Television are full members of the ABU, and they've been from the beginning of the time that ABU has been in place. And we really appreciate the work that we have done in terms of the partnership and collaboration and coordination we have had with these two entities in Nepal. And I think, as you said, this approach of merging Radio Nepal and Nepal Television is a significant step towards achieving the benefits of a public service media in a country. And I think it's a point, a milestone, I should say, in the approach that Nepal is taking towards the importance of establishing and strengthening the public service media entity in Nepal.
Thank you indeed for that, Mr. Nadeem. Now, the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union has been pivotal in advancing broadcasting technology and strengthening the broadcaster, or media as you would want to call it, in the region. How do you envision technology playing a transformative role in shaping the future of PSBs across the Asia Pacific?
I think the biggest challenge of recent times for the public service broadcasters and public service media entities has been the evolution of technology, actually. And I think this was more evident towards the post-COVID area. And what we've noted, I think COVID was a really an important era in signifying the importance of public service media and to have a trusted source of media in any country. Across the region and across the world, what we have seen is that during COVID, the viewership of public service media entities and national broadcasters increased a lot compared to other entities. But at the same time, this period of COVID also was a significant era where technology was advancing a lot. I think it became a catalyst to advance technology in a way that post-COVID, we are in a situation where a lot of the people, including the public and the government, are questioning the role of public service media. This is entirely driven by the technology, because what has happened is that people through advancing technology are able to receive signals to any mobile device that they have. It become very important. But at the same time, if you note what happened through that period is that the reason why there was a rise in viewership of the public service media entities was because of the trusted information that audience needed. So it was not all about entertainment at that time. Although there was a rollout of entertainment entities, entertainment technologies during that time. I think through the region, these internet giants like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all of these had a huge rise in subscriptions of those services during this time, because everybody was tied to home and everybody wanted some sort of entertainment. So there was a huge rise in adoption of these services. But at the same time, although there was a rise, there was also a rise of people turning back to the national television, the national radio. Why? Because they wanted that trusted news, the trusted information that is key to any society and any public. So I think the role is there. I think there is an importance of signifying this difference between the public service media entities and the commercial media entities, especially those who are more focused on entertainment, whereas when it comes to public service media, it's not only entertainment, it's information, education, and entertainment. So this is the difference, and I think along the way, not only the public, but what we have seen is that even the authorities are somehow losing this knowledge. And this is why we are in a situation where a lot of the people, including the politicians in many of the countries, are questioning the role of public service media. But I think along this discussion, we will get into the details. But yeah, right. That's the main difference, yeah.
Right. As you already raised your concern, as we know from what the COVID pandemic changed to the momentum that the digital platforms have gained and the way that they have transformed the entire landscape, how can you believe PSPs maintain their relevance and continue to build trust with their audiences in this very, very dynamic and complex environment?
I think what I mentioned earlier, trust. Maintaining the trust between the public and the broadcasters as public service broadcasters is very, very important. What we are seeing recently in some of the public service media operations is that, of course, they are having to compete with these entertainment giants in the market. Commercial broadcasters, OTT players coming into the foray. So there's a lot of competition. But what we need to understand is that within that competition, we should not lose our focus. Just for the sake of competition, we should not dilute the news that we present or the information we present. The information we present and the news we bring to the audiences should be accurate in terms of fact and in terms of presentation. That should maintain, and that level of credibility and integrity is paramount for any public service media to maintain its role within the audiences. So I think that's very important. Do not focus on the integrity, on the trust that you have to maintain. As long as that is maintained, I think it will be very, very good.
Right, you really steer us to the very, very core element of the entire, essence and essence around media. Let me turn to Ms. Gorman. ABC Australia has certainly set global benchmarks in terms of independent journalism, inclusive programming, and of course audience engagement. Now, building on just what Mr. Ahmed put forth, the scenario, the real reality around us, and based on ABC's experience, Ms. Gorman, what key practices or lessons could Nepal adopt as it lays groundworks for its PSB model?
Thank you so much, Shivanee, and thank you to Nepal, the Public Service Broadcaster, for inviting me to speak to you today alongside my friend and colleague, Ahmed Nadeem, who we work with very closely at the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union as very active members of that union. Look, I think just building on what Nadeem was talking about before about the role of public service broadcasting, I think there's another element that I would add, which is something that very much drives the strength of the ABC within the Australian market and internationally. And that is that we're not primarily driven by a profit motive. So we're not driven primarily in order to raise revenue to return to shareholders or indeed the government, if that was the case, as the government as a shareholder. And what that does and what our founding legislation requires of us is a range of activities that are really about building the strength of the country, the strength of the population, the unity of the population, reflection of the Australian population as a multicultural, multi-ethnic, cohesive society that's informed, educated, and entertained as well. So where we have in the changing digital landscape these very large emerging platforms, the Netflix, and they're not emerging anymore, of course, they're very much emerged and on the landscape, but the Netflix, the Amazons, Disney Plus, etc., all those global content platforms, they are driven absolutely primarily by the profit motive. So while they're providing great content that entertains, that engages, it's also not necessarily reflecting the culture and the peoples of a particular country. So a great strength in public service broadcasting, public sector broadcasters can leverage the fact that those big platforms, those big competitors across the global stage, are not creating content in many instances, for example, within Australia, that reflects the culture of Australia, that reflects the reality of life in Australia, that reflects and responds to the needs of the Australian audience across the whole of the country. And I think that's the great strength for public service broadcasters across the globe, is that they can harness that joyful power of their countries, cultures and ethnicities and the stories that can be told to protect and preserve culture within a country, to increase tolerance across the different ethnicities in a country in relation to culture as well. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think it's something that the ABC very much uses as a sort of guiding principle for what we do domestically within Australia. And within our international work, it also means that we want to be representing the very best of Australia. So we are trying to show internationally the Australian nation and what the values are of the Australian nation and what the constituent parts of the Australian population and culture is. So in that sense, we very much try to reflect the fact that in Australia we have an Indigenous population that that is one of the oldest Indigenous cultures in the world.
Amidst all this needs, wants and the aspirations, there are centrally placed interests that really guide the structure and the operations of any institutions, more so for PSBs as well, which stand as very, very important elements. Coming to the editorial independence part, and I turn to Mr. Nadeem, editorial independence, as we all know, is a cornerstone of effective PSB and ensuring credibility and trust and audience trust, basically, amidst all the needs, wants, aspirations, and the interest, more so commercial interest. You being in the reign of ABU for a significant period of time, what governance models or frameworks have you seen successful in balancing autonomy with accountability, particularly in politically or commercially influenced environments?
As you said, I think the idea of having an independent editorial control is very, very important. I think it's key to any public service broadcaster, but it's not easy to attain, and I think these differences are there from broadcaster to broadcaster in the region. Different broadcasters, different public service entities, they form different methods or different methodologies of doing this. Some have independent boards who drive through parliamentary operations, who are more independent in their operations and not attached to any significant role of the government. So this is one model that is there. We have another model where state-funded entities are appointed by the state to run the entity. Again, there are successful models in these also, but it all comes down to how you are able to, or how the organization is able to maintain its credibility and not in a way skewing their operations or skewing the information that they provide to the public in a specific direction. When this happens, I think it's very significant that we have seen that public is losing trust in the entities, in the media entities. So it's very important that that independence is maintained, not only towards things related to the to the political scenario, but also in other areas. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult to say that one specific model will work for everyone. That will not happen because of the diversities we have within the region. But I think it is up to the country to find out what will work best for them. What is important to note is that just like freedom of expression is one of the cornerstones of a democracy, I think the right to information, accurate information, is also a key cornerstone of any democracy. So this is where public service broadcasters come in, and we have to make sure that we are fulfilling that role accurately.
ABC has, we've seen, effectively navigated funding challenges while delivering very high quality and independent content. Now, what sustainable funding models or innovative practices from ABC's experience could Nepal explore to ensure long-term financial stability for a PSB?
Thank you, Shivanee. What a good question. Look, it's core to the operations of a public sector broadcaster, the funding mechanism that underpins the broadcaster. We in the ABC are very lucky to have a funding model which is we are funded by the Australian Parliament on a 5-year term, but that the funding mechanism, if you like, is underpinned by the support of the Australian people. So I'll just unpack that a little bit because I actually think it's really important here. The ABC's been working within the Australian within Australia since the early 1930s, so more than 90 years now. Over that time, it has built a reputation and the trust of the Australian people. And the Australian people have been educated over that time and have the understanding that the ABC is independent of government. So that independence of government, combined with the fact that we are solely funded by government, solely funded from our parliament, creates a tension, because when we are at times producing news and current affairs coverage that might be considered to be critical of the government that is in charge on that day, it can be seen that it runs a risk that we lose the support of government. Now, what has happened in the past over many election cycles is that a political party that campaigns on the basis of cutting the ABC's budget, potentially because we may have been critical of that particular party at a certain period of time, is actually something that is not supported by the Australian people. The Australian people want the ABC to be independent. They want us to be holding power to account. And so that insofar as creating that creation of an educated public about the nature of public service broadcasting, the role that it plays, the benefit that it brings to a country, I think is really important. And that's something that we do over a range of different sort of programs and activities at the ABC. So we very much make sure that we are positioned and that what we do, that our strategy encompasses the fact that the ABC is for all Australians, not a certain sector of Australians, not a part, not Australians who are more conservative in their politics or less conservative in their politics, but for all Australians, and that we're independent and that the work that we do is on behalf of the Australian people. It's not driven by the government of the day and the government of the day's agenda.
Mm-hmm. You really bring me to one very, very important agenda or a concern, that is inclusivity. And with this, may I turn to Mr. Ahmed Nadeem. Inclusivity remains a critical challenge for broadcasters all over the world, and it is one important area of concern for Nepal's PSBN at this point of time as well, particularly because in regions with diverse and remote communities, because I am sure you're very much aware of the geographical constraints that Nepal has and the other constraints that follows. So you, as a technological expert yourself, what strategies or technologies have you seen successfully helping bridging the digital divide that's so prevalent in the region, more so in the South Asian region, to ensure that no one is left behind in this broadcasting landscape?
Thank you. Yeah, I think what we have seen in the recent decade is that there's been an evolution in how technology is being spread around in different areas and different pockets of communities and population. At one point in time, broadcasters really struggled to cover those pockets of communities that are sometimes in very rural or distant locations, and they used to have free-to-air services or maybe satellites to cover them. But what you have to understand is that through the advancements of technology, we have seen that internet coverage sometimes have reached them much better than any other form of signal. If that's the case, I think it is important for the broadcasters to understand that maybe our traditional approach of broadcast signal or satellite signal may not be the answer. Why don't we use whatever is available for them, like maybe internet is available through mobile platforms, then we reach them through that. Because as I said in the last part also, the important thing is that we are able to spread the information to the people. It's not how we do it, or which channels we use it. We have to use all possible channels. We have to understand how technology is working. If a specific technology is available to them, then we use that platform to reach them. It's not necessary that it has to be through a specific free-to-air broadcast signal or a specific satellite signal. It's not necessary. If the community is able to receive mobile signal and they have mobile internet or broadband, and if those platforms are available, then let's make sure that we reach them, our signals reach them through those means. So I think it's a matter of balancing out and understanding how technology has evolved, and what is important is that not stick to what we know, rather evolve ourselves and understand how things are changing.
Right, and in the current very rapidly changing landscape, for sure, for Nepal, the challenges are, one is to reach the diverse audiences on one side, and on the other hand is the new audiences, the younger audiences. The challenge to engage these younger audiences stands as one of the major opportunities as well as challenges. Let me turn to Ms. Gorman. What advice would you give to PSBN on engaging the younger demographies and building a digital-first strategies to expand their reach?
It's a great question, and I think one that we're always grappling with at all times, because as we all know, the needs and desires of younger audiences change over time, and combined with the rapid change in digital platforms and how they work, it's a real challenge. One of the things I would say is absolutely vital is having people from that age group, from your youth bulge age group around in their 20s, working with you as a media organisation. They intimately know their own generation's media habits and desires and methods of consumption. The other thing is, and sometimes this can be expensive to do, but there are more economical ways of doing it, is doing some small amounts of targeted research to really understand what the sort of content that is really appealing to younger audiences and the sort of delivery methods that are really appealing to younger audiences as well. So sometimes some of the things that we've found over time is that there is, and we can get a little bit inflexible in the way that we present, we produce and create our content, but allowing for there to be room within the organisation for there to be flexibility. So, for example, we have a creators lab within the ABC, within a unit that's specifically designed to be innovative and to create innovative ways of reaching new audiences. And that Creators Lab has allowed us to engage some TikTok creators and people who already have established profiles within the Australian community and really leverage off their own already significant follower base, and to expand that out and provide them with more resources and use their skills and their abilities and their unique appeals, but very much branded as the ABC, as ABC content as well. So that's a really interesting way of leveraging people who are already doing really great creative work in the community, providing them with a bit of institutional backing, and then using them to bring more audiences back into, for us, the ABC brand, but for you, the Nepali Public Service Broadcasting brand as well.
Right, and as we engage in this conversation with Mr. Nadeem and Ms. Gorman, certainly there's one key concern that I am thinking about, that is how we foster avenues of collaborations, because there's so much to learn and collaborate in order to foster our mutual aspirations. With ABU, it has been a glorious history of collaboration and cooperation for both Radio Nepal and Nepal TV, and more so it's going to be important, in fact fundamental, in the days ahead. With ABC as well, we have directly or indirectly engaged in these sort of works through ABU or through independently. Let me come to Mr. Nadeem. The collaboration even within ABU has, within Asia Pacific, the region that you lead, has been one of ABU's very key strengths in driving progress among the media or the broadcasting fraternity. So how can Nepal effectively integrate with ABU's network or ABU itself to benefit from opportunities?
No, I think what's important for any member with the ABU, including both entities of Nepal, is how closely you keep communication with us, how close a tie you have with us and the leading members among the ABU fraternity. That's very, very important. What we have seen in the past is that sometimes when there's no time, for example, because of the workload you have, to follow what ABU is doing or what other leading members are doing with ABU in terms of the collaborations or co-productions or news facilities or even sports programming that we do. You miss out on those things, and we have seen it in many occasions. But what is important is to keep a close tie with ABU and let us know. I mean, the only reason why an organization like Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union exists is to foster this collaboration. How can the leading broadcasters in the region help others and each other? How can we share our experiences and come together to foster common goals and achieve something that are interesting to the different broadcasters? There are many ways, just like the forum that we are having right now. Learning from, for example, what a strong broadcaster and advanced country like Australia is doing through ABC is a lot to learn from them. Of course, because the countries and the communities are different, you may not be able to apply the same things in your own countries. But taking those ideas and making them fit to the requirements that you have is the opportunity and is the platform that ABU provides. So my take on this is the stronger ties you maintain with ABU in terms of communication and coordination with us, the better you will be integrated into the network.
Right, I cannot really agree more on what you just said, but still, as we engage here in Nepal and Kathmandu, laying the groundworks for PSBN, if there are any specific opportunities, especially on capacity building for Nepal television, for PSBN Nepal to foster ahead, if there are any specific opportunities or platform that ABU has engaged in fostering PSPs in the region, we would more than be happy to listen to you.
Definitely, there are a lot of programs that we do in terms of how we work together. I think what is very important among the activities we do are the co-productions. We do co-production centered on drama, co-production centered on children's programming, co-production centered on other specific areas like climate change. These are very, very important. If Nepal Television or Nepal Radio takes an initiative to join these, you will learn a lot, because these co-production involve a lot of experts from other countries and other organizations coming and exchanging their information and experiences together. So these are platforms that you can learn a lot from.
Mm-hmm. Turning to Ms. Gorman, let me switch to the workforce. I think that is one central concern which is so fundamental in the success of any venture or initiative, more so for any institutions. How can PSBN invest in developing its workforce to meet global standards while ensuring local resonance? I believe this has been one speciality of ABC.
Look, I think that it's very much an ongoing work across any media organisation to continue that investment in people. And it's absolutely the case that one part of that, particularly at the moment with such rapid digital transformation, is really about upskilling people who have been very familiar with their own modes of media, so TV and radio, to move into that digital space and not to be frightened of that change. We, over the course of many years, have been instituting converged newsrooms and converged content teams, and we now have solely digital content teams as well. So where once upon a time the ABC, although has always had TV and radio together, has been very much separated out television was one operation that worked within itself. Radio was the same kind of thing, but now we have teams that work across both television and radio news content and so on to produce a range of content that then goes out on digital platforms and our own digital platforms, but also social media platforms. I think change management and understanding how people respond and react to change that's presented to them is a really important consideration when you're looking at changing the way an organisation works and adapting to digital transformation as well. And there's some really interesting work around how change management can be successfully instituted in organisations. And it's really about following down that path of understanding that presenting someone with a different way of working will require a bit of journey for them to actually take on board that different way of working and feel comfortable with it and not feel threatened by it. So I think, that's really important, but it's absolutely an ongoing, we all, the strength of what we do and what we produce is really underpinned by the quality and the work of our staff. So investing in them is such an important thing to do.
Well, thank you so much for this, because this is one area which is attracting a lot of attention and concern at all tiers here at PSBN now that it is already in force and things are taking shape. Out of curiosity, have you ever engaged with any entities or institution, the very preliminary phases like this, in execution of PSB? Has ABC had any experiences like that, so that, are there any partnership or support, more than support, I would say, any mentoring programs that ABC has, which PSBN can explore?
We don't have anything that's sort of sitting on the shelf, so to speak, but we absolutely have lots of past examples where we have provided support and assistance for media across the Indo-Pacific region to adapt and change. Now, the ABC began its digital transformation really back in the early 2000s. So we have had a lot of experience in change management and adaptation of strategy and the upskilling of workers to digital and so on. So we draw on that expertise absolutely to work with media organisations in the work that we do in our international development unit. So we have a standalone unit that implements and manages projects for media capacity building and journalism training. We would be absolutely happy to talk further to you at Nepal TV and radio about whether there might be opportunities to engage with you on that kind of work.
Well, as we head forth towards winding up this very, very important conversation with you, we certainly want to hear a message from both of you, if you have any, to give to Nepal's policy leaders or the broadcasters who are at the reins of, translating this aspiration of PSBN here in Nepal about leveraging technology or cooperation or actions of all sorts to build a very robust and future-ready PSB. Mr. Nadeem first.
Well, I think it's very important, this transformation that we are going through. What Claire has highlighted, I would like to thank Claire and ABC for that openness, the invitation for organizations like Nepal, for example, to come and experience, and if there are any ways that they can assist, they are open. This is what ABU brings actually, and similar to ABC Australia, there are many other organizations within the ABU fraternity. We'll be happy to support Nepal in this process, in this transformation process. Definitely, yes. When it comes to a message, what I would say is that to the policymakers and governments of any country, do not discount the power of public service broadcasting. Do not discount the need for the public service broadcasting. And this need and this power can only be exercised if you let public service broadcast entities to work independently, to exercise the right to have independent editorial policy, and to maintain that credibility and integrity among that organization. And I think you are in a place to allow this to happen. Otherwise, what is going to happen is that if this competition goes above and beyond what public service broadcasters can provide, then the value of public service broadcasting is going to go down. If that happens, you will be in a position where you will lose trust with the public, and the only way you can effectively reach them will go away. So I think it's very, very important, while you're exercising your work as elected politicians and leaders of the country, do allow public service broadcasting entities to thrive, to maintain their credibility, to maintain their integrity, to maintain that trust with the public. That's very, very important. And do not discount that fact. It's very, very key for any organization, any public service broadcasting organization to thrive on that ability to maintain that trust. So I think that's the only message I have at the moment to give. Of course, we are happy, extremely happy that this transformation is working for Nepal. We congratulate the initiative that you have taken. We are happy to support you in any way you can. There are multiple organizations around the region, close and far away, who have maintained this kind of work with different models. Do engage with us. We will be happy to connect them to these organizations, where you could learn how they have thrived, how they have improved, and how they have challenged the narrative that's changing across the region and across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your very kind words, Ms. Gorman.
Thank you, Shivanee. Look, I think I'd very much echo the sentiments of Nadeem there in terms of encouraging policymakers to value the PSB's independence and integrity. So while at times, it can be uncomfortable for a government to sit with that and to still maintain support for that independence, when there may be times when power is being held to account, it's so vitally important. And public service broadcasting in its true form in countries enables education, information being propagated. It's the perfect tool for disaster risk management and emergency broadcasting. It is a tool of social cohesion, of enabling economic prosperity, and support development goals as well. And a public service broadcaster can work in the national interest to achieve all of those things while remaining independent. But funding support and government support is absolutely vital for that. I'm really excited for you there in terms of the recent merger and the new broadcasting bill. I think you've got a fantastic opportunity to really shape what your organisation does, and through the already many long years of engagement from Nepal TV and radio with the ABU, I would encourage that engagement with the ABU activities through the program committee, which I'm very honoured to chair, through the sports group, through the technical bureau and so on. All of those activities, and where possible being able to be present and meet people in person, is really beneficial, and the ABU really provides that opportunity. But look, we're always very willing to further dialogue with fellow ABU members as well in terms of providing support. We think we are greatly enriched by that engagement as well. We learn, we educate ourselves, we are very much open to engaging in that way. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today. I really appreciate it.
We certainly would not have ended on any better note than what you just said. Thank you so much. It was indeed a privilege for us here at PSBN to have this opportunity to hear from your very insightful, experienced insights, especially at this very, very opportune and critical times. And we certainly look forward towards building on this cherished bond that we have.
Thank you, Shivanee. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your invaluable support. Dear viewers, that's it from this particular panel where we delved into the international best practices in PSBN, where we could also dissect through the changing and emerging media landscape. And this was an effort from our side to gain from the international stalwarts who have come past a journey in the field of PSB, as well as venturing more in the changing media landscape. And we believe this is just a new beginning for future collaborations as Nepal here seeks towards creating an exemplary and future-ready PSBN. Thank you for being part of this discourse and deliberations. Namaste.